Hi everyone, I'm Tom and today I'm going to be playing A Feast for Odin. And if you haven't seen anything about this game, it is huge. So, A Feast for Odin is, well, it says on the rulebook, it is a saga in the form of a board game. We are playing as Vikings and doing what the Vikings did. All sorts of things from trading, hunting, pillaging, raiding, exploring distant lands. We are building little buildings. We are exploring the mountains and trying to get the resources. We are crafting things. There is so much going on in this game. But as huge as this action board looks like, it's not as intricate as it might seem. If you see there's columns on this action board here and rows, they actually kind of link up to things. So this top row, for example, is all about building houses, building these houses here. And each column is kind of a more powerful version of building a house. So in the first one there, you can spend 2 wood and you can get the shed there. And that's just going to need 1 worker to do that, and the 2 wood, obviously. But the next one up that's worth more points and you can do more with it, that's going to take 2 workers and a stone instead. So you can see the things get better and better. Like for the upgrades here, if you're just going to spend 1 worker, you'll get 2 upgrades. You spend 2 workers, 3 upgrades, and so on and so on. It gets better and better the more workers you're willing to spend. So while it looks like there's a million different things to do, they fall under very nice categories. I'm going to be playing the solo version today, which might seem a little strange that there's 2 colours, but that'll be clear quite soon. It is quite the same, so it's not. If you're not interested in solo, we'll still show you the main parts of the game. It's just that the turn order works a little differently. In the normal game, it would be a case of, it's a worker placement game, so I would place a worker, the other players would place a worker, and I can't go there in the future. In the solo game, you have 2 colours that are both you. So everything I do in the first era round kind of blocks off spaces on the board. And then when it comes to the second round, I use the yellow workers. And now I can't do anything that I did in the first round. So you're only going to be able to use a space every other round in the solo game. If anyone would like to see a multiplayer playthrough of it, let me know. And I can add it to the list. But for now, we are going solo. So at the very start of the solo game, you want 5 workers of one colour here, 5 Vikings of another colour here, and then you put 1 Viking of the first colour on round 1, and then you alternate 2 Vikings of either colour up to round 7. I'm going to be playing the full game. The player boards are 2-sided, and you can play a 6-round game, but I'm going to be playing the full 7 here. You always start off with a bow and arrow, a spear, and a snare, and a mead, and a starting occupation drawn from a deck of them. You see there's the occupation deck up there. There is a few that have this other coloured side for starting occupations, and these might define your early strategy at least. So I have Apprentice Craftsman, and it's just in my hand and doesn't do anything yet. If I can get this played later in the game, it's worth no points at the end of the game. But when I send workers to crafting spaces, so that's any of these here, before I do the action, I can do this. And this means you take a mountain action. So we can come to the mountains here, and when you take a mountain action, you have to pick from the left. You can pick either strip, and you can take the leftmost thing if it's just a 1 mountain action. So before I do any crafting, I could take something from these mountain strips, which starts off with wood, and then stone, and then ore, and then even cash at the very end. So that's something that I'm probably going to want to get played. So here we have the round structure, and there's 12 steps to a round, which seems like a lot, but as in, what was that game? King's Abbey. As in the King's Abbey, it sounded like a lot, but really when you do it, it's quite fluid and quick. So the whole first step is take a new Viking. We go to the banquet table here, and we take a new Viking. Then we have the harvest. So we check the current round here and see what we get for the harvest. This symbol means we get all of the goods that have a value 1. So I get a beans, a flax, and a peas. Next, turn exploration boards and place silver. So we look underneath the harvest, and in this round, we don't do any of that. We're not going to do that until round 3, and I'll show you that then. It's basically we have these exploration boards where we can explore and take these as personal boards. And over the course of the game, these are going to get flipped to different things. Better in terms of points and things, but perhaps not as good in terms of income. And when things get flipped, the things that didn't get flipped get 2 money each on them as well. So next, draw a new weapon. And I have another spear. And this, well, not necessarily, but it makes whaling possibly more attractive for me. So now I'm going to have to think of what I want to do. Because I've played this, I think I've played it 2-player once, and I've played it solo 3 times, and I'm still trying out different strategies. So I should mention that up front, that this isn't necessarily a strategy guide, it's just showing you how the game works. So I think I'd like to try and go exploring really quickly. Let's see how that works out for me. Because I have been noticing people on Board Game Geek, and there's a brilliant solo series going on at the moment where you can get some predefined cards and things and then see who can get the best score. I've been watching some of the people that get crazy scores in that. But for now, let's still try and work out the game. So to get one of these islands, I need a certain boat. So Iceland seems like a great board to have if you want a lot of cash quickly. And I can show you how that works soon. To get Iceland, I'm going to have to spend 2 Vikings and get one of those boats. So to start off with, I think I might go hunting or maybe laying a snare or something. To do that, I want some insurance. So I am going to go here to the mountains and trade. It's the leftmost column, so it just needs 1 Viking to do it. And I can take a mountain action and take 2 things. So I pick 1 of the mountain strips and take the 2 leftmost things. So I'm going to take this 2 wood from that mountain strip there. Next, I am going to lay a snare. So this needs 2 Vikings because it's in this column. I'll try not to cover up everything that's happening here. And maybe I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see these things better. So, laying a snare is an action that requires a dice. Shock horror, in Uwe Rosenberg Eurogame, there is a dice. So how this works is, I take this dice and I want to roll as low as possible. I need to get a 0 result with this. And how am I going to do that? Well, the value that I decide on out of the 3 rolls, I can use a snare and wood, and that's shown here on the left hand side. For each 1 that I spend, I can reduce the die roll by 1. So ideally, I want to roll 1 and spend this snare. That would be perfect, but let's see how the dice treat me. So a 2, maybe I want to stick with that. I think I want to stick with that. So I spend the snare to reduce it to 1, and I spend a wood to reduce it to 0, and I have succeeded at laying a snare. So I get a fur, which is a nice big piece here, and I get my snare back. But those Vikings stay there until the end of round 2, and then in round 3 I'm going to be able to lay a snare again. This little symbol here means if I had failed after my 3 rolls, I didn't want to spend the stuff or I couldn't spend enough stuff, I get 1 Viking back and a snare and a wood. So it gets made a little bit easier for me next time, and I get 1 of the Vikings back, so it wasn't quite so crushing to lose. So I have 3 workers left. I think next I'm going to try hunting game. And this is still the same situation really. I only have 1 bow and arrow and 1 wood. Maybe I should have gone back to the mountain first. So I can roll 3 times. 7 is terrible. 1. Now that is perfect. I'm going to stick with that 1, spend the bow and arrow to reduce it to 0. You can see just to the left of the action again. I'll actually show it you on the camera, that'd help. It's got the bow and arrow symbol and the wood, so you can remember the things you need to spend to reduce the die roll and the things you'll get back if you ultimately fail. So that can get discarded. And what do I get for succeeding at hunting game? Well, I get a hide there and a game meat. So I have 2 more actions left. And the things I want to think about are, I have all of these tiles now. What is all of this for? Well, some is going to be needed to feed my Vikings. See, the revealed spaces here need to be filled with food. And there's some rules for food placement. You can't place the same colour next to each other. You need to break the oranges up with red or with money, and you cannot place ore on here because they won't eat ore. They don't eat money, but they can use the money to buy food. So I need to work out how I'm going to feed these people. I could feed them like that. That's quite nice. It's all different. There is a rule where if you were using the same thing twice in the feast, say I had 2 mead for some reason, the second mead could not be placed like this, and I'd feed them like that. The second mead has to be placed like this. So you're at a disadvantage and you're wasting some of your food. That's where these square ones have an advantage, in that if you have to rotate these, they're still taking up 2 spaces on the banquet table, so that's okay. But these would be better on your board, because that is the main thing we're doing in this game. We are trying to fill up our personal boards, any exploration boards or houses or anything that we've got. We're trying to fill these with all sorts of things. Trouble is, you can only place blue goods, they can go anywhere. Green goods, they can only touch on corners. And then money and ore, which can also be put anywhere. So I would like to get as much of this as possible on my home board and really boost my income. The only problem is greens can't touch, so I would have a little bit of a problem. I could place this here, and then that's kind of set me up for 2 money. Because the rule is here, you can only cover up these money spaces if you have covered everything to the left and underneath them as well. In one go, I could just cover it all up with that. Although maybe I'd like to save this for later, because if I can get an island, say Iceland, and put it on there instead, I could really make the income go crazy. I think for my last actions, I'm going to get this card played. So, I'm going to place a worker on here. I can take something from the mountain strip again, and I can upgrade something. So I will take the stone from this mountain strip, and then I can upgrade something. And if we just take a look at these lovely plastic trays that all the resources come in, they are not only a fantastic way of organizing the game, they also show you the upgrade tree of every item. So if we take the beans there, they upgrade into milk, which upgrades into wool, which upgrades into this treasure chest here. And it's not like you're turning them into the things, you're trading and exchanging, you're making things better. So I can take anything I have, even these things aren't spent yet, it's not set in stone that they're there, but I'm going to save this flax for something else. I think I'm going to upgrade this game meat. And flipping it over just makes it a cabbage. So I have to go back to the resource trays, and I've turned it into a skin and bones. So all green things that are ready to go on boards in the future. And my final action is going to be to play a card. So I have to spend a stone or an ore, and I can play a card and get a money. So the stone's spent. I'm going to play this Apprentice Craftsman. So for the rest of the game, whenever I take a crafting action before taking the action, I can grab something from a mountain strip. And that's all of my Vikings. So step 6, determine start player. It's irrelevant in a solo game, obviously. Income. So now we look at all of my exploration boards and what's the smallest number that we can see. Well, it's 0 at the moment. I can, and it's worth doing, I think. I can place money at any time, so it's any time on your turn as well. So before the income phase, I could have just placed this here. And it doesn't work out for me now, but for the rest of the game, I'm going to get a money from that. So it's not really affected me, and it's going to pay off in the long run. Animal breeding. If I had 2 animals of the same type, one would become pregnant now, but I haven't done that. Then we have the feast. These Vikings need to be fed, and I have already worked out what I'm spending there. Then, bonus. This is where these spaces come into play. These count as being covered up already. If you can completely surround them with things, so for example, like this would be valid, and it's something I could have even done if I really wanted to. Oh, actually, I'm missing a corner there. Imagine that's fully covered. Imagine these are blue or something. If you completely surround one of these squares, you will get that in the bonus phase every round. So that would be an ore. And I can get some nice things. Mead is okay, there's wood, stone, and ore, but this is nice, a rune stone. And look at these are lovely blue tiles which can be placed anywhere, and it's going to cover 2 spaces on any board that I get. So no bonuses yet, but that's going to change soon. Update and add new mountain strips. To update the mountain strip, you take the leftmost thing from each mountain strip that's out, and then you reveal a new one and fill it up with stuff. And there we go. Finally, remove place Vikings from the action board. No, solo game starting on round 2. We don't do that yet because now we grab the yellow Vikings here and they are going to be used. So I cannot do any of this stuff, which may be a problem. I've taken the cheap mountain spaces away, but I do have the apprentice craftsman and I can take from mountains when I craft things. So a new Viking, I get 2 new ones for this second round. The harvest, it's the same again. It's a peas, a flax, and a beans. But also we get the number 2, which is grain. Then turn exploration boards, nothing to do in round 2. Draw a new weapon, and it's a sword. That's the one you don't start off with. Swords help with raiding and pillaging down here. And we are back to actions. So what do I want to do? I want to get crafting to make the maximum use out of my card that I've spent time playing. I want to grab a boat and get Iceland, I think. So to get Iceland, I'm either going to need a longship or a knar. I presume that's how it's pronounced. And they are over here. At any time, I can just buy one of these for 3, 5, or 8 money respectively. But that's crazy talk, the way my income is. So I can get them by going to these action spaces here. So the cheapest way to do it is to grab one here, 2 workers and 2 wood. But I don't have 2 wood, I have 1 wood. So that's where I'm going to go crafting. I'm going to spend a Viking here, and I am going to turn a flax into a linen. So I take the flax here and grab a linen. But before I did that, actually, it's very specific that it's before taking the action. I'm going to grab a wood from this mountain. Now I have the stuff. I'm going to spend 2 Vikings, and I'm going to grab myself a knar, which goes down here in my big ship spaces. And now I have a knar, I can grab Iceland. So this is going over here, and you see it's full of lovely things. Some more bonuses I can grab. It's worth 16 points at the end of the game, but it comes with 24 minus points, so I need to get those covered up. So I would like to, since I have the hide and the linen, I'd really like to just go there and turn it into that huge coat piece. But that would be all I do. I've only got 2 Vikings left, and I would like to do a nice trick. So I'm going to spend 1 Viking here, and now I have a knar. I can use this space here. I'm going to go here. I spend 1 money, which I happen to have, and now I can turn any number of different green goods into blue goods of the same type. I have all of this green stuff going on here, so all of that is now blue, and it can be placed touching. So let's work out how this is going to go. So I've been poking around here with what I've got, and this seems like a nice placement. If I can get a money and place it there, then I could place this here, and then I'd have 5 income. But I don't know if I've left myself enough to be able to do that. I've only got 1 Viking, and the thing is, I am worried about feeding. Although maybe I don't need to be. I was going to convert some stuff into red food so that I can place things next to each other. But I can use money. I could, for example, use the grain here, although I'd like to keep the grain. I could use the grain and the peas and then have a money between it, which I will earn from the income phase, and then the feast is okay. So I can try and grab some nice stuff instead. So I'm not really sure of the best way to just get a money. I was going to go there, but then I realised the mountain strips haven't got a stone available at the moment. There's no stone on the left. So let's see, I can come here with 1 worker and grab a beans and a money. There's nothing up there. I can't do this, unfortunately, which is really annoying. Or I can come here. Yeah, this is what I'll do. It might not be the best thing, but I will draw an occupation card. So, village leader. Before the feast, if I have at least a coat in my supply, get 2 money. Wow. So you have to save the coat in your supply, but that is really, really nice. And I can get one maybe in round 4. If I go hunting again, I can turn flax into linen and then do this to get the robe. That's something to think about. That's a nice looking card, but more importantly, I get a money, and I'm going to use that money there. So I complete that bonus as well. But more importantly, I can cover this up here. And I'm close to this bonus. I could use some of the money I earn to just grab this bonus or this bonus. So that was all of the actions. Skip start player. Income. My income is 5 from Iceland and 1 from my personal board. I have 6 income. And I think I am going to use a bit of it to grab some of this stuff. So I'm going to do that there. I think that's the best I can do, because it would cost me a lot more than that to cover up any of the other spaces. And I think I'd like the stone and the ore more than that stuff at the moment. So, and this can be done. The only thing you can't do is you can't use something you've just earned, place it down, and then get more income. So I couldn't use all of the money, cover this up, and get more money. Or that doesn't make as much sense. It makes more sense in the income phase, in the bonus phase. So animal breeding, I don't have any. Feast, I have to spend the money there, don't I? So there is the feast. And bonus, I get some bonuses this time. I get a barrel, which is nice, it's green. And I get a stone and a door. Okay, update and add new mountain strips. I take everything off there. And new one comes out. There we go. And remove placed Vikings. The blue Vikings from round 1 now come home, and those spaces are available to me again. So round 3, a new Viking. 2 new Vikings for me. Harvest, nothing. So I need to be aware of that. Maybe I should have taken the fish. We can sort it out. We can work it out. And next, turn exploration boards. This is where something happens. So A now gets flipped. The Shetland Island now gets flipped. And it is Bear Island, which has some nice income. You can get a runestone down there. I had forgotten as well. Shetland can give you a blue tile, the cutlery there. I had forgotten that until it was too late. Because in the last solo game, I took Shetland Island at the start and didn't realise for about 3 rounds that was a blue tile every round, which is really nice. Everything else that hasn't been taken, so the Faroe Islands and Greenland, get money on them to encourage you to take them. And then draw a new weapon. I get a bow and arrow. And then it's time for actions. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is place a Viking here. I'm going to spend a stone to get these things, but first I can grab something from the mountain boards, and I am going to grab 2 cash. So I get another money, and I get a runestone. Next, I think I'm going to grab some animals. I'm going to make a big push here. I'm going to spend 4 Vikings. When you spend 4 Vikings anywhere, you can play a card before or after. If you spend 3, by the way, you can draw a card as well. So I need to spend 3 money. I'm going to play this card, this village leader. Before the feast, if you have a coat in your supply, get 2 money. And it's worth 3 points just for the card. And I get a cow and a sheep. I need to think about the feast as well. How am I going to sort out the feast? I need something that's 3 wide, really. I could just go and get a fish. So I don't want to spend all of this in money. But I want stuff to cover up the boards as well. I want to get more income by the end of this round from, I don't mind which board, but I haven't got many cards, any pieces here. So I'm going to come to the livestock market and spend a money to get 2 fish. So one of those fish can go here. Then I am going to come to this space here and upgrade 2 things. I'm going to turn the cattle into the clothes. So I have the clothes ready, but it could just go on the board. And I'll also upgrade this other fish. Okay, I have 1 Viking left. I think finally I'm going to come here. I'm going to grab the last 2 money off this mountain strip, which means this mountain strip is now gone. And I'm also, with my 1 upgrade, I'm going to upgrade the sheep. So the animals didn't last long, but maybe I can do something with all of this stuff now. Okay, so we're about to determine income. Let's see if I can puzzle this out. So placing like this, it costs me 1 money, but it would get me 7 income then on this island. And nothing's touching that shouldn't be. The greens are quite separated. I'm going to get a fish now. That seems very nice. And then, oh, I could spend the ore instead of the money actually, but the ore can be used for actions. I could come here and, let's see, I would spend all of that just to get 1 more income, but I could, see, it'd be nice to race up here and start earning the runestone. I think that's it. So my income is 7, 8. 2, 4, 6, 8. And do I want to spend any of that to get some more bonuses? I think I could spend the ore, and then how much money would it be? It would be 4 money, and then I can get an ore every round. I don't think I want to do that though. I'm not going to do that because I want to buy a great big boat, what it's called, a longship. So animal breeding, I got rid of all my animals. Feast, I've already worked that out, which is nice. And bonus, I get a barrel, a fish, and a stone and an ore. And actually, before the feast, I should get 2 more money. So I have a lot of cash. Okay, update and add new mountain strips. Get rid of this stuff. And the new one could just slot in right here, couldn't it? So there we go. And then remove placed Vikings from the action board. If you're ever unsure which colour you need to remove, you can look at the colour of the next round. It's yellow that needs to be removed. And we are all ready for round 4. But I think I'm going to stop there for this first part. If you'd like to see the rest of the game, the next 4 rounds, then you can click the link on the screen. If you'd like to know what I think, then there'll be a link for that. But thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you for the next video. Bye.